Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on December 19th, 2022. My name is Elizabeth Nelson, and I served on Ann Arbor City Council from 2018 to 2022. I understand the inner workings of our local government, and I believe that you should too. This week, the City Council agenda was quite short, and the meeting lasted for less than an hour. After public comment and communications, Council discussed agenda items for about 25 minutes. This is the voting chart for the Council meeting on December 19th, 2022. All items were approved unanimously. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at A2Council.com. There were 4 absences: Council members Ackman, Cornell, Dish, and Song. With only 7 council members present, agenda items CA3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 12 had to be pulled because all required 8 votes for approval. Councilmember Briggs explained that 3 absences were due to illness and a 4th was due to caregiving for illness. The last time fewer than 8 members of council were present was March 16, 2020, days before the state issued emergency stay-at-home orders. 3 months ago, a majority of City Council, including 5 current members of City Council and the mayor, voted to lift masking requirements at council meetings. A public commenter from September 19, 2022, had this to say.
Cases have been going up, admissions have been going up, and deaths have been going up since last year. And so this seems like a bad time to remove mask mandates. And I understand that the county, the state, and the federal government have all done this, but the city doesn't have to do it.
At this week's meeting, 7 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 2 people spoke on issues that were on the agenda. CA11, a contract with a consultant to promote and administer community electrification programs, and CA13, a collective bargaining agreement with the Ann Arbor Police Officers Association.
A heat pump, based on the second law, is 2 to 4 times more efficient than a gas furnace. That's why Mark Ross told Congress we should use heat pumps. Even back then, burning gas was a thermodynamically stupid way to heat buildings. Fast forward 45 years, we have a climate emergency. And you have an agenda item CA11, the Elevate contract, to electrify buildings. Heat pumps, even using dirty DTE power, are twice as clean as gas-heated buildings. So pass CA11 tonight. Thank you for your service on City Council.
Lastly, there are 2 items I'd like to point out that have been added to Articles 5 and 6. Article 5, Section 7 now includes 7 additional major infractions that have been specifically stated for immediate suspension or termination. This is progress. In Article 6, Section 3E, Step 4 includes an additional option of mediation through the Michigan Employment Relations Commission prior to arbitration. This is an additional optional opportunity for the parties to resolve issues prior to arbitration. This is progress.
2 people commented on military aid to Israel, and 3 people commented on a memo released this week that explains the infeasibility of a pedestrian path underneath the East Medical Center Bridge.
The AC1 memo filed with tonight's agenda describes how the non-motorized path has been removed from East Medical Center Drive project because MDOT has denied us permission to build in their right-of-way. This is very disappointing, to say the least. A year ago, Council approved a car-centric plan to widen and rehab the bridge, but at least it was supposed to include a design for the non-motorized connection under Fuller. Today, all we have is a plan for the car bridge. I'm not against maintaining existing car infrastructure in Ann Arbor, but we already have enough, or maybe too much of it. We don't have enough safe and easy options for non-motorized transportation.
This area, East Medical Center and Fuller, is one of the most important connections for people walking and biking in the entire city. Now, the bridge proposal itself is going to add a new 11-foot lane for cars, and in doing so, all the designs I've seen, it will increase pedestrian crossing distances and conflict points at the Fuller intersection, which is already a dangerous intersection on a priority corridor identified in our transportation plan. The bridge widening project, therefore, will reduce pedestrian and bike safety and lead to increased car traffic.
My measurements of the path in Vandermeer Park between the railroad and river there, the path there is closer to the railroad than it would be here, and there's a fence, so why not just put up a fence in the East Medical area like it is in Vandermeer Park? It seems like that should be a fairly straightforward thing to do with MDOT.
These are highlights of council deliberation on agenda items this week. As published ahead of the meeting, the consent agenda included expenditures totaling $9.3 million. After the removal of all items requiring 8 votes, the consent agenda allocated less than $300,000. One item, a collective bargaining agreement with the Ann Arbor Police Officers Association, was pulled for discussion.
I believe fundamentally that we have to have transparency in policing. We have to hold our police department accountable at a significant level. And when police officers engage in misconduct, we have to have accountability. There should be consequences, and we must have higher professional standards. With each contract negotiation cycle, we intend to make more progress, and this contract is a sign of progress.
The whole of the consent agenda was approved unanimously. Council considered amendments to an ordinance that sets policy for awarding city contracts. In November 2021, the city charter was amended to establish a best value standard for awarding city contracts. That standard replaced the previous policy of awarding contracts to the lowest responsible bidder. Councilmember Iyer referred to the history of this ordinance.
So we passed it in late last year and have had about a year now that we've been working with it. It was understood at this table that we would spend a year working through it and determining if there were any little tweaks that needed to be made to address unforeseen situations that might come up.
When the original ordinance was introduced 1 year ago, Councilmember Iyer and Mayor Taylor explained.
This was our best value contracting charter amendment that will allow us to be more thoughtful about how we hire contractors for large construction projects in the city and making sure that we're getting the best value for the money that we're spending, and that we are able to consider our own values in the process of awarding contracts.
We all exercise best value contracting in the course of our day-to-day lives. And there's no reason why we shouldn't, as a city, be able to consider quality of workmanship and result and the whole variety of other measures, crucial measures, as we decide what to do to affect the people's business.
The original ordinance was approved at second reading in January 2022, and Mayor Taylor explained.
It will, I think, be an important step forward. You know, when we in our daily processes, none of us fail to take into account the value of the thing that we're purchasing. Now we will have the opportunity as a city to do just that, and I think that our decisions will be the better for it, and the value to the community will be the better for it. So I'm glad that this is moving forward, and am eager to reap its fruits.
In 2022, campaign finance reports for Mayor Christopher Taylor and the slate of candidates he endorsed for City Council revealed another value, a total of $25,000 in political donations from labor union PACs. For more on that topic, follow the link below to find a video about the influence of labor union PAC money in our local elections. This week's amendments to the Best Value Procurement Policy were approved unanimously at first reading. A second vote is required for final approval and public hearing at a future meeting. Council voted unanimously to extend a contract with Recycle Ann Arbor to manage municipal resource recovery services. The extension will cover 2 months through February 2023 to make time for negotiation of a longer contract for services. Finally, Council updated a legislative policy agenda previously adopted in July 2022.
A little bit of background on this. The Council Policy Agenda Committee had recommended, and Council adopted earlier this year, a policy agenda. But with the change in leadership that's coming, with the Democrats taking over both the House and the Senate for the first time in 40 years in Michigan, we needed to do quite a redo of our policy agenda.
I'd like to echo my thanks both to obviously the folks who have been on the the Legislative Policy Committee, past and present, to staff for working and coordinating with our new and expanded Washington delegation. There is a great deal of opportunity.
Earlier in the meeting, Mayor Taylor talked about having visited Washington, D.C. last week.
I had the opportunity last week to go to Washington, D.C. and attend an event at the Vice President's residence. I was able to have a few moments and spoke with her briefly about CA10, which is our purchase, which is off the agenda today due to lack of membership, but will be back with us on the 8th, on the 9th, about CA10 and the importance of the Biden-Harris Inflation Reduction Act, and to enable us to get to a point where we are able to purchase solar panels. My wife was there as well and got to speak with the second gentleman about his important work with respect to anti-Semitism.
The council meeting was over before 8 p.m., and there were no public comments at the end. At a previous meeting, council approved a new rule that eliminates open, unreserved public comments at the end of meetings. Mayor Taylor opened up discussion during the motion to adjourn and explained that a January meeting of council might be rescheduled if Michigan plays in the football championship game. For more details about this meeting, visit A2Council.com. Subscribe if you'd like to be alerted to more updates like this one.